Alright, so we got everything working, but I know what you're thinking and I know what you're saying. You're saying, Peter, we can do better than this. Look how this looks over here. You're absolutely right. So this is a bonus video here. We're going to make this look a little better on this screen over here. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to clean up the value that we're seeing here displayed for the date. This is all well and good, but we probably don't want to see all this information. So how are we going to do that? We're going to use a date formatter to format this date in a style that we want to see. And the best way to do this is to start by going back to our item here. We're going to go to item.swift, which is, if you recall, is the struct for each item on the row. We've got the name and the date. The date, of course, is the one that we care about here. And what we can do, we can add a function. So I'm going to add a function in here, and I'm going to call it display date. And it's just a function we're going to call. And what it's going to do, it's actually going to return a string. And there's a couple of things we need to do here. First of all, we need to create a new instance of our date formatter. So we're going to say let date formatter equal date formatter, right? So we've got our new instance there. It's okay for it to be a let because we're just going to use it to pass a string here. Next thing we need to do is we need to set up the format to display that date. So I'm going to say that the DateFormatter.dateFormat equals, and what I'm going to do here is we're going to display the day, which is a lowercase d, and then a space, and then the month with 3 M's, and then the year. So it's day, month, year is how we're going to display that, okay? And then lastly, we've got to make this error go away, so we need to complete this. And we do that by saying, yep, we promised that we will return a string, so that's what we're going to do. And we're going to pass in, we're going to say date return, the date formatter dot string, and it's going to say, okay, well, you need to now tell me what that string is. And we're going to use the item date. Okay, so what's going to happen here is this item date object is going to be passed in as an argument to our date formatter. It's going to be converted to a string with this format and then returned out of this function. Okay, I'm going to save that. Let's go back to our content view. Now, right now, when we hit resume, sorry, I'm on the wrong view here. Let's go to the item details view. Right now, nothing's going to happen because we're still showing that raw value. So what we can do is, I'm just going to delete that off of there. And if I now put in the dot, you're going to see our function that we just created appears there. And when I add that, it's now going to update the display, and you can see we've got the day, the month, the year. So beautiful. There you go. We've now formatted this date. But it's kind of weird, right? Probably the likelihood is you're going to have other things on this screen. So we're going to go to the bottom of this V stack here, right? And the first thing I'm going to do is add a spacer so it pushes all the content up to the top. Remember, the navigation will appear at the top here eventually, right, when we run this application. Let's go to our item details view. First thing we like to do here is I always like to have, when I have these labels here, I like for them to be bold, right? That way it makes it stand out that it's the label a little more. So I'm just going to do dot bold to add that there, like so. I don't like the way this is being displayed here. I don't like this kind of centered thing going on. What I like to see normally is labels would to be right aligned so that these colons here will line up, and then the content to be left aligned so again it aligns up here. So we can fix that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the way we're displaying the stuff over here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add another VStack. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this line here and I'm going to hold down Option Command and use the square bracket, left square bracket, to just move that line up there. So there's a little tip for you. I'm going to take this line as well, and I'm going to move that one up there, or you can copy and paste it, cut it however you want to do it. So these are now in a VStack. I'm actually going to want another VStack here, so I'm going to change this one to a VStack, and I'm going to move this line up here as well. Right, now I don't need this empty H stack here, so let's get rid of this. So we're getting there, but what we now need to do is add an H stack again, and I'm going to wrap all of this in the H stack, and I'll re-indent this here just so you can see what's going on. There we go. So now we've got an H stack with essentially what we've got is we've got two columns, right? We've got this column on the left with the labels, and this column on the right with the content, but it's still not lining up the way I want it. So I'm going to select this V stack. I'm going to go over here. On this alignment, I can choose right aligned, and when I do that, you can see it's going to align the labels here. So I'm also going to click on this one, and you guessed it, we're going to do left aligned. And now I've got the layout I want, right? I got the name, the date, all nicely laid out there. Let's go ahead and do a live preview on this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to save it. I'm going to go back to my content view, and we're going to do a live preview to see this now, and I think you'll agree it's laid out a bit better. And click on item 1, and so there you go. You can see you've got a better layout here, right? It's nicely presented, and you can, you can do with it whatever you want in your application, but it just gives you a different way of thinking about how you're going to build out these views. So this was just a bonus video to show you an extra bit of layout here to get you something a bit more useful and a bit more pleasant than just the raw data being thrown up on the screen.